everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, we are watching a movie that Scott picked, that Kyle owned and digitized for us, and that I liked a third of. So, we are here to talk about Girlfriend from Hell from 1989. So, Scott, why did you pick this bad boy?
The cover.
All right, good enough reason. All right, goodbye, everybody.
So, was this the first watch for all three of us?
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, I thought so.
Awesome.
So I actually wrote down, though, that this movie made me feel weirdly nostalgic, almost like I had memories of watching it as a kid, even though I clearly don't.
We'll get into why.
I think it's that opening credits song and the font and everything, just like... I was like, I've watched... I haven't watched this movie, but I've watched this movie. You know what I mean? Like,
no, there is a specific, distinct reason beyond the general nostalgic vibe of a cheesy horror comedy from 89 that we'll get to.
This is broken into thirds, I would say. There's Act 1, and Act 1...
Which we'll call Happy Birthday, Rocco.
Yeah, it's getting everybody to the birthday party. Not a fan of Act 1.
The worst birthday party ever.
For the worst human, so it's totally fine.
I mean, for the worst human.
I don't know. His girlfriend's pretty bad, too.
Yeah, I mean, they're all bad. I don't like Act 1, not into it. Act 2 would be Maggie becoming possessed. I love Act 2. I want Act 2 to just be the whole movie. I was like so enjoying like where the humor actually kind of worked a little bit in Act 2. And then Act 3 is where Bounty Hunter Angel becomes the main character of the story, and I lost interest again.
Yeah.
Like, it's
because he's awful.
He's truly horrendous. And there's a scene towards the end of this movie. He's telling the story of how he used to date the devil.
Bang.
While
they weren't dating. They were having sexual.
They were having it. They
carnal
were
knowledge.
Carly looks up during that scene and is like, "What's going on here? Like, why are we in a different time period, but like still pretty close to what's happening now?
What the
like
craziest,
only 50 years prior.
The craziest thing in this movie, in my mind, is he's like, God called me and said he had a big meeting, so I left her a note, and then, guys, we sit for like 2 minutes and just watch him like slowly write a note, leave it on the bedside, like check his wallet.
I loved that set piece, though.
The set piece is great, but I'm like, what are we even doing here? Like, it's not even like it's a short movie where they're filling time. This is such a you could have cut this
movie
early.
Not to get to 93 minutes.
I was about to say I really think that they were pushing the back story so that they could hit that over 90-minute mark, because if the pace of the movie is fucking great until Chaser gets let out of the closet. And then it becomes inexcusably slow. And it's like very painful to watch. And I, at a certain point, got so fed up with it that I stopped paying attention. I was fucking around on my phone, which I rarely do with something I picked.
It became like, oh my God, like here's something that's weird. Like, Chaser is the inventor of the condom. And this is
a really dumb joke.
It's a dumb joke. It's a forgettable joke. But for some reason, it was so important that it's the first sentence of the IMDb plot summary.
Yes. Now, I think that lends credence to the importance of it, because I think that the writer probably wrote the synopsis on IMDb, because the creation of the condom was what got Chaser to go to purgatory instead of hell, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's why he's
This is the best, most Catholic thing ever, that Chaser lands in purgatory due to his invention. And it's like, it's really like a stalemate for Catholicism, and I thought it was hysterical.
He's going there with all the unbaptized babies.
Was so funny.
You know, I didn't hate anything that the girlfriend from hell was in. Like, all of those scenes were fine because she's doing an Elvira impression.
She's having a blast.
Yes.
And like
she
I think I read that she like lost representation.
No, that was Maggie. That was the actual protagonist, her best friend.
Well, no, Maggie's who gets possessed, I thought.
Maggie's got possessed. Diane. insane earrings, Diane. Yeah.
Diane's earrings were blowing my mind when she and Chaser were time hopping, and they're in the ocean. They wash up in the ocean, and she still has them on. I'm like, are they going to be missing? Nope. They're magic.
Dude, this movie had a lot of funny bits of business. When Maggie first turns into Girlfriend from Hell and talks to Homeboy in the bathroom, and this whole, it is honestly peak physical comedy. Like the head out of the toilet, the mouthwash, the dribble, the goo goo gaga eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I know
we don't watch a lot of horror comedies, but I laughed out loud actually a handful of times.
No,
I was like, this is crazy.
There's parts in the middle that absolutely work. Maggie has brilliant comedic timing. And I love that there are more than one occasion where they break the fourth wall a little bit. The part where she literally says out loud I guess it's the time where I have to kill them all. She's literally just walking us through the beats of the movie at that point. I'm like, that's so funny. That works for me. There are also moments in this movie where I'm like, this was so cheap. This was such a poorly made movie. When they're talking in the car, their S's are popping so hard in every line of dialogue.
The worst. No, Matt.
And then, it's two things. It's the S's, and there's no pop filter on whatever mic they're using for that car scene. So every time that they hit an S, it's you hear that S. And then they're talking, and it's fading into another scene with music, but the music is mixed too loud, so it's actually running on top of the dialogue instead of gently fading in.
The subtitles reflect that because there's a lot of inaudible. Quick shout out to Culture Shock who put out this Blu-ray,
which is the reason why we were able to do it, because it is not streaming or rentable anywhere.
No. And I apologize. I will have to report back another episode, but there was a special feature that was an interview with the person who wrote Girlfriend from Hell, the musical.
What?
I cannot find any more information.
Yeah, that played in 2011 in the West End.
Yeah. So
okay.
I didn't
so that
listen
is the
to
most
it,
West End thing I can think of today. Yeah. It tracks.
But I will report back for more on that.
So,
but just it's a great disc for those who get interested.
And I really appreciate Kyle taking the hit, and by taking the hit I mean just giving in to his capitalism and buying a copy of this and then scanning it in and sending it along to us so that we could both enjoy it. All three of us could enjoy it. But the thing that I find hilarious is that Matt is upset by that car scene. That's not the most egregious sound design issue in this film.
Oh, it sets the tone for what you can expect throughout the rest of the movie, because that's one of the first dialogue scenes.
Very well, yeah. But the thing is that when they're in the house, the ADR, well, I don't think they ADR at all. When they're in the house, they have somehow treated the rooms a little bit better. But when they are in, they have this long argument. Chaser and
Tracy?
Diane? Is that what you said?
Diane. Yes.
They have this long discussion when they get back, and then I guess, is it right after Chaser bashes Maggie over the head with a vase, and she falls out the window a second time. I think that's when they're doing. It literally sounds like they took a 1989 Zoom recorder and they put it on the floor in front of them, and they're like, do your dialogue, and it's incredible. I mean, that's not the problem with this movie. The problem with this movie is that they took what should have been an hour and 10 minutes. I think that the budget that they have, they could have made a great hour and a half movie if they would have kept it linear instead of trying to do this whole. Okay, so I'm so sorry, listeners. Let me
because none of you have the ability to watch this movie without spending money.
The idea is that Diane and Maggie are best friends. They've been best friends since elementary school. Maggie is a complete girl nerd, never been on a date because she is not good in social situations.
She's like emulating Urkel in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like a version of Urkel is weird. With less social, actually less drive.
She's got these glasses and this ponytail and these paint-covered overalls.
When those come off.
Oof.
we cut from the so she and this other nerdy guy are whose dad is the fucking guy from
James Cameron from Return of the Living
Frank,
Dead.
right? It's Frank.
The warehouse manager.
Yeah. And he's like, he gets
Put your tongue in her ear.
Great bit of business.
Yeah,
Awful.
exactly. So then they go to this. They're getting set up at Rocco's birthday party, and Rocco and his girlfriend are physically abusive to each other, but it's funny, so it's okay. And then they're gonna go out to dinner at this Italian restaurant. But when they're at the house, Chaser, it cuts to Chaser in what we find out later is purgatory, battling a paint like a film painting entity that he zaps, and it flies down to earth, and it enters Maggie's body, and she becomes this vamp. She's like she gets hot, and she does her makeup, and she has fingernails now, and false nails, and she teases her hair up, and she gets hot. She comes back downstairs and is like, hot to trot, let's go to dinner. And then they almost run over some nuns with guns, which is so funny and so weird. It makes no sense. Also, I think that my next pick chronologically has nuns with guns.
Nice. Well, this is they go to the dinner scene where I wrote down the quote that Scott needs to use to kick off a song one of these days.
Yeah, I've written that too.
And this is where they meet Frida and Teddy.
Yes,
and they say
Teddy, who is
fundamentalist
Stuart from Mad TV, basically.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
They go, "Hi, I'm Frida. I'm Teddy," and Maggie just goes, "I'm Satan." Like,
no,
that is the opening to his song.
That's not the opening to the song. The opening to the song is that's the problem with him and that fan club he started. What's it called? Christianity? No sense of humor. That's amazing.
Yeah, that whole dinner scene is insane. Funny, insane. They get back to the house, and this is where
but also she can now control people's actions, so she makes the nerd Carl fight guys in an alley. And the funniest thing about that scene isn't the scene. It's that when they were shooting that scene, Ricky Lake showed up to wish them well, which is this movie is so inexplicable.
Yeah, it's so
That's
strange.
Incredible.
She also makes a lobster come to life. Really recreates my favorite moment from
There's nuns. There's nuns named Frank and Beans.
Oh, I loved the
Sister Beans
the
and Sister Frank.
Yeah. I mean, guys, you are going to feel like it's deja vu in October when my next pick comes up. I'm not even sorry.
I'm so excited. But then, the best part of this movie is literally they get home, they get back to Rocco's party, and this is where she just fucks the life force out of every single guy. She must be sucking
the life out of him is one of the lines, which is it's so good because I wish that they would have just maintained that it was only oral because it would have been such a funnier joke.
But the actual corpses look great. Like, I'm like, I love these corpses.
Yeah.
They're like dried up and gooey simultaneously. It's awesome.
And
like,
it's not a very gory
pokes
movie.
them.
No,
but those are great.
Did you see the part where Chaser pokes the one corpse in the eyes because it has no eyes? Does like the Three Stooges gag?
I swear that wasn't scripted. I actually think that was like it felt like pre-roll before they put the slate in, and it was actually Dana just playing with the eye like the eye sockets.
The other crazy thing is that Chaser is Dana Ashbrook from fucking Twin Peaks.
Yes. Very important to disclose this. It's Dana Ashbrook from Twin Peaks. He has a whole ass trench coat gag that he carries through the last half of the movie, which made me laugh every time and also inspired my drink choice today, which is simply beer. Because at one point in time, he pulls a can of beer, the white can of beer that just says beer. So I have Simply Beer, which is the closest thing I can get.
And I was going to go with tequila. No, Matthew. Well, I mean, that does track with the Elvira jokes already. Yeah. But so there's this one part where they get back to the house and Maggie rubs Teddy's crotch and light shows up. And then he's like entranced and his girlfriend is like
begrudgingly gives him a blowjob.
No, it's before that.
Back.
She's like he's the Diane's boyfriend is like he walks up and he's like, here, drink this. And she goes, what is it? He said, it's she said, no thanks, it's the devil's nectar. And he goes, oh, I thought it was tequila. That's also a great line for a song, but like a surf song. But then I was going to do tequila, but I have no desire to drink tequila straight. So instead I went with Great Lakes Ruby's Revenge, which is a grapefruit IPA that I've had before.
It's a great can.
It's got for the listeners who are not in the Patreon, patreon.com/HMN podcast. If you want to watch us, Ruby's Revenge has an Audrey 2 on it.
Yeah, it's like an Audrey 2 Deadly Spawn type deal. So I could have really lived without Frida having to begrudgingly give a blowjob to her possessed boyfriend.
A hand job. I was really hoping that it was just
once her head started to move, I'm like, this is even worse. Like I could really live a happy life if they just cut that whole scene out. But then we get here's the thing that really, I literally wrote, "Oh lame, nobody died, boo," as my last note, because like Chaser just like shows up and he's like, hey, how about you bring all those dead people back to life? And she's like, okay. And then just like all the guys are back. And I'm like, man, like it's a Scooby-Doo ending. It's borderline. It was all a dream type ending. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I hate a horror film with no true consequences to the end of them.
That's fair.
Yeah,
but it's a horror comedy, so it actually works just fine for me.
I mean,
if you want to reframe it.
I guess I should reevaluate my opinion, because man, do I love My Boyfriend's Back, and that has even more of an egregious, like everybody's alive and fine.
That's fucking true.
Also, guys, did you just realize what happened? I was the most positive person on the show.
Oh, stop showing off.
Let's celebrate.
The closing credits has the best joke in the entire movie. Did you guys catch this?
No,
I don't think
I didn't even watch. I didn't watch the closing credits. I just shut it off.
The movie fades to black. The credits start to roll, and it says "cast," and then in parentheses, in the order that their agents demanded. Is so stupid and so funny to me.
So great. No, it was good. It was a good bit of business. I just wanted to lean back on how awful this is for Rocco. This is his birthday.
He doesn't like balloons. He doesn't like parties.
He hates.
I know he's a shithead, but it's his party, right?
Yeah.
And he can cry if he wants to.
And he can fucking cry if he wants to. But these friends of his set up a blind date on his birthday.
Yeah.
And then immediately leave those two, Diane and her boyfriend, leave the
Maggie and David
awkward couple at the front door, then immediately interrupt him making out with his girlfriend. There's just seahorses as decorations everywhere with no explanation as to why there's seahorses. Does not like balloons. And then as he gets seduced by our girlfriend from hell, there's a great piece where he gets walked into a wall. He does not walk himself into a wall.
Yeah.
But when Maggie throws a deadly glance at Rocco's other girlfriend, he just walks into the wall, and I burst out laughing. And then he gets his soul sucked out. So it was not a great birthday for Rocco, even though he was cheering on his friend. But I just couldn't believe, and in this very thick carpeted living room, that everything was being spilled in, and I just felt bad
also,
for the guy.
Don't do like blind date meetups at parties.
On a birthday!
On a
That's
birthday
not yours.
party. Like, what the fuck is that? Just
Well, part of it was his problem, too. It was his friend.
Yeah.
So, like, he played into it. But you just shot yourself in the foot. It's a horrible birthday for you, dude. And your name's Rocco.
Yeah.
Good fucking luck, brother.
He's really, the cards are stacked against him. Now,
what is Rocco short for? Anything?
I think it's just the name.
I think it
Marcus?
might be Rocco.
Ruckus.
No.
It's
Ruckus.
Man, I'm naming if I have a child, I'm naming him Ruckus Kelly.
Oh my God!
And just being like,
Matt,
just call him Rocco for short.
Fixed.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice.
Well, one last thing I wanted to mention is that the reason I think the subconscious reason why you specifically, Matt, felt so comforted by certain portions of what you were considering the second act, what I would consider the end of the first act, because I consider the second act to be when they are just flying around time, which is stupid. But the house was actually apparently a pretty popular filming location.
I've seen a certain celebrity work out there a few times.
Yes, Linnea Quigley's horror workout.
Shit.
And Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bowl-orama. Now, I don't have a full list, obviously, but I am guessing that we have that may be the most notorious HMN house.
It's probably true.
It's probably
true. And Scott, maybe that house even showed up in one of our double features. So starting with you, what was your double feature?
Well, Pledge Night, because I think it was the same house.
Wow.
Good call.
Is that what your thought was, Matt?
I mean, I think that it was anybody's guess, but yeah, Pledge House probably makes sense. It looks similar. Kyle, how about you? What's your double feature?
Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would be a really, really fun. And the music is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, go from
the music's the
theme
same. You end up getting gorier, and like it's still comedic, but it ends up being slashery, and it just has good vibes.
Yep, good vibes across the board. And
this movie can match up with a lot of stuff. It feels like this is a good pairing,
including my pick. I went with the original Night of the Demons, Halloween classic.
Oh,
wow.
I think it captures a similar vibe. Very small, intimate gathering of 8 strangers or 8 friends in a house when someone gets possessed and bad shit happens.
I also thought Better Off Dead would be a fun one with
Yeah.
this too. Like again, just like the quirkiness of the comedy
and the
being
theme song
so wacky. The theme song.
Yeah, it checks a lot of boxes in a lot of ways.
You said My Boyfriend's Back. I thought that too. I thought that was going to be your double feature.
No. As soon as I said, I was like, ooh, that would have been a good one also, though. Well, as we've said in previous episodes, hey, writer's strike's still happening. So, we're not going to be talking about movies or TV shows. But we are free to talk about literally fucking anything else. Clothes that you recommend, life experiences that you recommend, or probably more logically, music and books and video games. So starting with Scott, what is something you want to recommend our audience dabble in this week?
Yeah, so I don't ask a lot on this show, and now I'm going to be asking that listeners who are not hip to my YouTube, where I post mostly Punko's 50s covers, which I take. I people that get the newsletter have heard all of these because I send them along monthly when I do them. But I just did another Misfits cover. I did Hollywood Babylon. I just released it today. I'm at Scott Roger Music on YouTube. So, I mean, I think I wanted Console Crash, and by that point, they had locked down the vanity URLs. But, yeah, I've done 13 or 14 songs in the Punko's 50s playlist right now. I also have done some one-off metal covers of things. I have a lot of my NES music up there, my NES covers, some of the stuff that I did for my horrors anthologies, and some of my original horror soundtrack work is all up on there. I'm trying to push it a little bit more because I can't put the Punko's 50s on Bandcamp in any reliable way right now due to copyright issues, because it's like really, really difficult. But YouTube seems to have that kind of built in, so that I don't have to worry about getting my stuff stricken down. All they do is just demonetize, which is fine because I don't even have my YouTube monetized. So this isn't me asking for money. This is literally just me asking for people to listen to the music that I record. So yeah, youtube.com at Scott Roger Music, please.
Cool. Kyle, how about you over there, buddy?
Well, I because we're talking about stuff that we've been doing, and I'm really excited to listen to Hollywood Babylon after this.
Those lyrics are filthy, by the way.
Yeah.
Are they
disgusting?
Really? Ooh, can't wait. Oh, maybe I'll do it on air. Maybe I'll listen on air.
Please don't.
Just heavy breathe into the microphone. We at the top of July, but also now I'm in the edit for what is now called Ouchie, which I've talked to you on this podcast and via ads. It was originally called The Wound Within, which felt too much like an Evanescence song, so we've renamed it Ouchie because there's a little more levity, there's a little more comedy, there's a little more fun in the face of our content. But I'm in the edit for Ouchie right now, and I'm just really excited to have another thing out there. Like, The Woodsman was so much fun. It was my foray back into narrative filmmaking, into short filmmaking, and Ouchie is fucking awesome. I'm like so proud of our cast and our crew, and I would again thank you to all the listeners who had contributed and who gave a shit, and even those who have just followed and checked out the pictures. I posted a few pictures on Instagram about like behind the scenes stuff, and there's some real gross effects in there that are gonna be cool. There's some great stuff. So I am doing that. So even if I could be watching shit right now, I'm not. I'm working. I'm a busy boy. And the stuff that I do watch isn't affected by the writer's strike because it's trash reality TV from the mid 2000s. So everything's okay.
I'm going to use that as a jumping point real quick. Speaking of trash reality TV, if you go to my TikTok, Matt Kelly Podcasts, you can find a friend of the show, Robert Bacon's appearance on the 2017 dating show Love Connection that I posted his intro video on my TikTok today.
I don't know the dude and I never talked to him, but it's so fucking funny. And you guys speak so highly of him that I'm like, oh, this tracks. This feels good. He
sent me that the other day and I was like, this is the best. This is all I'm going to be obsessed about for the next 24 to 48 hours. But that's not my actual thing I'm going to tell people to check out. Well, first of all, I'm going to recommend a podcast on the Geekscape Network because we've got so many good ones. So have you considered listening to a little show called Weird Algorithm? One of the 3 people on this show is on it, so you'd probably like that about it. And then something that's worth diving into, checking out, the album that made me a fan of music, the album that let me know that there was music outside of my parents' radio station. Green Day's Dookie is celebrating 30 years, and they just dropped...
God, 30 years.
They just dropped an album on Spotify, and I think it's going to get released on vinyl and everything, of just the album, but only the 4-track demos of every song on the album that they recorded when they were still at Lookout Records before they got signed. And it's almost like listening to children sing these songs. It's like, oh my God, the change in everything production quality from like Kerplunk into Dookie is like so wild. So to hear like what Dookie could have almost been if not for like major record label like coming in and being like, let us finance your album is really wild. 30 years old, close to the length of time that Girlfriend from Hell has been around, which was released just 5 years earlier.
That is the mind-blowing thing.
That's the mind-blowing thing. That's a weird reference point. Also, hey, we're going to be at RetroCon. Come visit us and say hello if you're in the Oaks, PA area. But if you're not going to be in the Oaks, PA area in 2 weeks, guess what? Great news. Tune in next week, and Listener Submit It week starts next week.
Month. So it's a month.
Yeah,
it's not just a week.
It's a month of this. We got 4 movies that you guys emailed us about. So
when's RetroCon?
The 9th and 10th. So
okay.
You still got time to get your tickets. Come see Stan Bush sing The Touch.
Hell yeah, dude. With the Cybertronic Spree.
Yes. With
they
Cybertronic
dress up
Spree.
like Transformers.
Yeah, wow. It's great. It's going to be a great time, and you should be there. But even if you're not going to be there, we'll still be here next week with the first episode of Listener Submitted.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.